Rainier Avenue Radio. And after years of featuring tracks from the 50s through the 80s, StarTime now plays R&B and hip-hop from the 1990s as well. A whole half century of soul, funk, hip-hop, and more on StarTime, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
You know you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the show. I am Tina Lombard. I am one of your hosts, and thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Violeta.
Hi, I'm Violeta Strash with Coldwell Banker Danforth, and welcome, everybody. What are we talking about today, Tina?
We are talking about winter weather. So welcome, everybody, to Winter Wonderland here in beautiful United States. We have an Arctic blast that came down from Alaska and swept through the United States. And this is something that happens maybe once or twice here in Colorado a year, but it's been happening right now throughout the parts of the United States from the north and to the south. So today we're going to be talking about wild winter storms and how you prepare for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this past week we've had record low temperatures here in the Seattle area, and people, again, were not prepared. So we're here to give you some tips and on what to do during our winter storm watch. And first of all, just always keep in touch with the weather forecasts, kind of get a source for your information and make sure you follow what they suggest you do. And you know, let's face it, some of our weathermen are wrong at times, but you know, let's hear what they have to say and move forward, but still be ready for any more of this cold weather, right? That we're having up here.
Yes. Yes, and I'm sending you a link really quick, and it talks about the Arctic blast that is coming through the United States. So we want to say this is just something that happens once in a while. Actually, it's affecting all of the United States, here in Colorado and also in Washington. So I don't know, Daniel, if you can bring that link up here, but it's talking about the Arctic blast that is plummeting the United States, and it started last Thursday, last Friday. And it's starting to add to some parts of the United States right now, but experienced lows as far as it was 8 degrees last night, negative, Violeta. Negative 8 degrees here in Colorado. And so that's kind of the closest it's ever been since I've been here. So I'm not quite sure if we are experiencing global warming or if that's just something that's kind of the trend. Thank you, Daniel, for pulling this up. But this is a graph right off of CNN. And it's talking about an Arctic blast. And as you can see, there are parts of Washington State that have been hit. And it goes all the way down through Wyoming, through Colorado, parts of Texas, parts of New Mexico, and even the deep south, as of southern Texas has been hit by this Arctic blast.
Wow.
So if you scroll down a little bit, there's another chart there, and it shows all the different degrees. Daniel, if you want to go down, it's another screen. But it looks at parts of, just keep on going there. But it looks at parts of Texas. There you go. Texas and Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Some of those areas is as low as 5% in Oklahoma City, and Austin 17%. Jackson is 16 degrees, and Austin is 17 degrees. So these are parts of the United States which are historically warm, but right now they're getting hit with an Arctic blast. Now, and thank you so much, Daniel, for showing that. In parts of the United States, like Colorado, we see a lot of winter flurry. We see a lot of things that come up in the winter. It's not uncommon to go down to the teens, and we're kind of prepared for it. We've got our snow plows out there. We've got snow shovels. We've got things, that cover the car in case there's winter, winter hits our cars. So there's things that we do. Now, I know in Washington State, it is not as bad as during the winter. So maybe you don't have snow blowers, but right now we're experiencing something where there is a lot of snow, a lot of ice in Seattle and Oregon and different parts of the United States. So what we want to do today is we want to give you some tips on what you can do with your house, what you can do to prepare for a winter storm, should you have to shelter down for 3 or 4 days like we're experiencing now, which you should do in times of emergency in case the power goes out, in case the water goes out, electricity goes out, all social media and devices to get information through the television. If that is all exhausted, you cannot use, what do you do? So we're going to talk about that. And Violeta, you've got some stuff for pets?
I do have stuff for pets, but what was I going to say? The temperature that you're talking about, minus 4 degrees, 8 degrees, drops down even more when wind is a factor as well. That,
yes,
there are people, there are football teams playing in this kind of weather all the time. But I've been hearing about the wind chill factoring in at fields that make it like the negative 20 degrees or so. And who wants to play on cement like that? You get hit. No, right? I saw crack helmets, as a matter of fact.
Oh, phew. The thing is, they're telling us here. They're telling us here the temperature is the wind chill factor is like 23 degrees. And if you're out there, if you've not covered your flesh, within 10 minutes you can have frostbite.
Yeah.
So a lot of the ski towns around here, a lot of different ski resorts, they're like, hey, frostbite is inevitable, so they're going to shut down the ski lifts. So that's something that we have to deal with. But really? Football. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yes.
My son is thinking about flying over to Vail, down there to Denver to go skiing in Vail. But if they're going to shut down the ski resorts,
sometimes they do. It's supposed to break away today. We're supposed to break away. We're supposed to be back to the 30s. We're supposed to be back to the 50s on Saturday. But I was just in Vail. A couple days ago. I was just in Vail on Friday. And I know it was snowing. I was in Aspen. Yeah, and I was in Aspen too, and they were snowing. But it's just those little areas. I know we were going to take the gondola. We were in Glenwood Springs, which is right outside of Aspen, and we were going to take a gondola up the mountain. But the gondola had to shut because there was 50-mile-an-hour winds that would swing the gondola back and forth. Yeah. So it was stuff like that. Stuff like that. You got to be aware of. But he's coming to Vail. What is he coming to Vail for? Just what is he coming to Vail for? Just to play the snow?
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Okay. We'll come with him. We can hang. Okay.
I know. Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit. Yeah.
You have a list of what we should be doing?
Yes. First of all, let me tell you a little story really quick. I was telling Violeta and I was telling the viewers last week that during Christmas, my furnace went out and it was 10 degrees here in Colorado. So, of course, we freaked out because my temperature went down to just below 60 degrees. So that's something that just blew out. A lot of times, if you don't wrap your pipes, the water will blow. And so I was out there tightening my pipes like at 6 o'clock in the morning. That wasn't a lot of fun. So we've got some tips here, what you should do just in case there should be a storm. So here's a preparedness list that I have. Daniel will send it to you right now. Now, these are some things that you can prepare for either during the storm, a week or two before the storm when you hear that it's coming, or, just at the beginning of winter, at the end of fall, just presuming that the snow will hit sometime in the winter. So some of the first things they talk about here is preparedness. You have to plan to stay warm. So make sure that you stay indoors to prevent frostbite and hypothermia. Don't go out there and play in the snow. If it's 3 degrees, don't go out there and play in frolic. It's not the time to do that. Consider using an indoor thermometer or thermostat to monitor the temperature modes. So you don't have an app that tells me how much the temperature is outside my house and inside my house. And so if you know if it's cold, you want to cut down some of your activities. It says here, drink plenty of fluids, avoid caffeine, avoid alcohol, avoid travel if you can. So if you know it's 1 degree outside, don't go out as normal. Don't go to dinner or whatever you think you want to do socially. It's safer to stay inside. And nowhere to go if your home becomes too cold. So like Violeta was telling me today or a couple of days ago that, when her power went out, they just went to a hotel. So make sure you have a plan of attack in case the power does go out and you cannot stay warm in your house. On the other side there, Daniel, on that same area there, it says gathering emergency supplies. So make sure that you gather enough food, enough water, enough medicine before the storm hits. A lot of the stores might be closed, or a lot of the stores may just plummet, that may just be out. So there are some staples that you should get. You should have water bottles in your house, your big jars of waters, like maybe in October or November before the storm hits. Because if you go to the store to buy a generator or get some water, it may be too late because everybody else got it before you.
Yeah.
Organize supply kits for a go kit and stay-at-home kit. So make sure that you've got at least 3 days worth of supplies of food, of medicine, of water, of Netflix subscription. But just make sure you have everything. Okay. Ensure that you have enough warm clothing. So if that power does go out, you can't plug in a generator or something like that. Make sure that you have warm clothing to weather the storm. Like I said, you may lose drinking water, so make sure that you're prepared of that. Consider having emergency supplies in your house, such as blankets, such as batteries, first aid kits, and boots, that sort of thing. A lot of people don't realize that you need to keep your feet warm. So make sure you have hand warmers, foot warmers that you can just buy in the store. You can rip it, it gets warm, and have a lot of boots. It says here, have a 1 month supply of needed medications. So if you're diabetic or if you have any daily prescriptions that you have to take care of, make sure you have a supply of that is around. Okay, and just in case you cannot make it to the pharmacy. Keep personal, financial, medical records safe and easily accessed. So yeah, my girlfriend got sick when she came here last week, and it was cold. It was bitter cold. It was like -2 degrees, and we had to get her to the emergency room for something. Oh. So I had to plan routes. There was like 3 or 4 urgent cares around here, but she had her medical records. She had everything with her. But we had to get there in the middle of the snow at -1 degrees. So be very aware of where your insurance papers are, your medical papers are, and how to get to a hospital if needed. And if you go down just a little bit, Daniel, it talks about learning emergency skills. So what do you do if somebody has a heart attack or somebody has anything that happens to them, any type of anxiety attack, or if they should fall and hurt themselves, that sort of thing? What do you do? What if there is a fire? Maybe you have a candle that knocks over in the middle of the winter while you're trying to keep warm. Can you call a fire truck? Make sure that you know how to have some type of first aid or some type of emergency skills that you're able to do. Okay. Here it also talks about keeping your pipes from freezing. So, I took my girlfriend to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was driving home. I'm like, thank God, it was -6 degrees in my car, and in my car thermometer. And I said, oh my gosh, thank God all my pipes are weathered and wrapped with styrofoam. And I said, oh my gosh, I forgot to take the garden hose out. So when I got home at 6 o'clock in the morning, I ran to the back of my house, took the garden hose off, which was completely frozen, and I wrapped it with towels and everything else. Mm-hmm. So make sure you do that stuff in September or October. If you're not going to be using your garden hose again, make sure, because if those pipes burst, you're going to be in trouble.
Let me tell you a story. Can I jump in here real quick? A friend of mine called today. Mm-hmm. He is in the carpet cleaning business. Mm-hmm. And he says, we have been so busy because a lot of people didn't take care of their pipes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of flooding going on. Homes, commercial buildings. So they're out there working to dry everything up for folks. Mm-hmm. And he says that's one thing, like you mentioned, keep your water faucet on a drip kind of thing. Yep. And mm-hmm. make sure it's running. And then also his other tip was, it's cold out, but you don't want your house to freeze up. Mm-hmm. Or whatever, some negative things will happen with the inside of your home. So keep the temperature low at like a 65 degrees. Don't turn it off completely. because
right.
then you'll screw up everything. But just those two things, the water pipes, he goes, business is good for him right now because people were not paying attention.
Yes.
So
yes.
do all this.
It's very true. So, I had some faucet that were leaking. So it was probably a good thing. And I just had a plumber come and clean it, fix it yesterday. But, I put my kitchen pipe, though. I had my kitchen faucet on. So it was kind of a slow drip or a fast drip. Because if you keep your water running, it'll be it can really deter some damage. But what I did also where my garden hose was, thankfully that was right outside on the other side of that wall was my heater, so the wall was warm. So I made sure. And then my girlfriend bawled me out. She said, Tina, you need to winterize your home in October. She's from Colorado.
Yeah.
She said, you need to winterize your home. Don't be waiting for accidents to occur. So it's a good thing to get your furnace maintained or looked at in October. Make sure your water heater, all that's good. Make sure your pipes, if you're done gardening, if you're done with the water hoses, wrap them up in styrofoam in October, so that in the middle of the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, you realize, oh, okay, it's 2 degrees outside. I forgot to wrap.
Turn off your sprinkler system, right? Make sure you know where the shut-off valve is for your water source.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
It's true. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. Most people here in Colorado have a sprinkler system. And every year you need to turn that off. You need to turn the water off. You need to blow all the hoses out. And so, so otherwise it can burst in the middle of right in the middle of your yard. So that's never good. Okay, it says here just a few more things here. It says sign up for free emergency alerts with your local government. Just get an app for that. Plan to monitor local weather and news. So make sure that weather app is always on your phone. Have a backup battery or way to charge your cell phone if all the power goes out. Have a battery-powered radio to use during a power outage. So make sure you pull out the old-fashioned boom box, get the batteries in that. Understand the alerts that you may receive. A watch means to be prepared. A warning means take action. Create a support team to everybody to help keep you safe in the event of a disaster. So, if you're in a city somewhere, you want to make sure to call your grandma, your sister, your kid. Make sure you have a list. Make sure it's written down or somewhere on your phone let's say your phone goes off. Make sure you have access to that number, because a lot of times everybody's on speed dial. But make sure that you check your family members and make sure they know where you are in case they do need help, because you need help. So make sure something is in place. And it's always a good idea to have all the phone numbers of your neighbors in case you need help. And so in the middle of the night, I called my Filipino neighbors across the street and I said, hey, get over here, help me. So her husband came over here and he helped me, But make sure, I had a lot of different things that happened, but I called my neighbors up and I said, will you please look for this? Will you please look for that? And in case of an emergency, make sure you have the safety of your neighbors, have their phones. If something should happen to your house while you're away, or if something should happen to their house while they're away. So make sure you have all those numbers somewhere where you can get to when it's not on your phone, should your power go out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
so that's what
communication, is important, right? Because if you're in the middle of a disaster and family members from across the country are going, oh God, I wonder if they're okay. What's happening? Are they in the middle of all that? Or, sometimes you're so totally far away from it, but people don't know. Your family members don't know. So make sure there's a communication link somehow to all these people that will worry about you. And then get lanterns, the camping lanterns, or just really good flashlights ready. The batteries and those flashlights ready, because you don't want to use the power on your cell phone to use that flashlight on your phone. Use the regular flashlight so that you can have your phone accessible at all times.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yes. And I'm kind of lucky. I live in an area where I could walk to, the grocery store. I can walk to, the hospital if I needed, or I can walk to Sprouts or something. But if you're in a rural area, it's very, very important that, you have all the communications and you have all the power, because your power is more likely to go out. Your water is more likely to be unavailable. So rural areas, really get your stuff together,
Yeah.
So
did you go through your list? Because I have a couple more things that I wanted to add. Protecting your plants and your trees. So if you have a big snowfall, just go around and tap the branches to knock off all the excess snow from the branches so that it doesn't break the limbs or whatever. And I see right now, a lot of people's yards, if they have container plants or plants that they really are wanting to save from this cold snap, they cover them. They cover them with
Yes.
something, a bag or whatever it is to protect those fragile plants.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And then car maintenance. Did you talk about the car stuff? Make sure
Yeah, we get to that.
Okay, go ahead. Tell
Yeah,
us what you need to do with cars.
Well, you know what? If you were like, I was driving home and then, in the snow, people were on the freeway, they had crashed into each other, and it's 1 degree outside. So what could they do? So make sure that, if you have to travel during the cold, you have a full tank. Once it gets halfway down, you fill that thing up again. Make sure you have gas to keep you warm. Make sure you have 1 or 2 extra blankets in your car. Make sure you have boots in your car. That's common in Colorado. You have boots, you have water, you have a blanket, you have some type of batteries or something like that. But make sure you have that in your car. Make sure you always have a snow shovel or what is called a scraper to scrape off your windows. That's very, very important. Don't be traveling down the street and not have enough gas.
And chains if you're going across the mountain.
If you're going across the mountain, you want to make sure you have chains. I know here in Colorado, we don't really use trains even in the snow because it destroys what have you. But in those rural areas, you need to have chains in Washington State, or at least what is it called, the wires that you have. I always carry that in my car. Make sure you have jumper cables. If you should run out of electricity or whatever, you can get a jump from somebody. So make sure, and if you don't have a what is it called, a roadside assistance, is very important. Like in the winter time, you make sure that you have roadside assistance, especially for your daughters who are driving out there. Yes, roadside assistance.
No, okay. Yeah. What about snow? Do you need snow equipment over there? Some snow removal?
In Washington, Colorado, you by law, you have to get within 24 hours, you have to clear your driveway and the sidewalk in front of your house. So we have a neighbor that comes around. He's really nice. He does everybody's sidewalk. But I have 2 giant snow shovels for both me and my daughter, one for the front, one for the back also. But you have to have that. You have to have at least 9 pounds of melting salt. Yeah, because the driveways here, once the snow comes, you clear it off and you put the melting salt on it. So here you have to have melting salt. For your driveway and for your walkway. So shovels and melting salt. Some people put cat litter in the back of their car if their car ever gets stuck in snow. They put it in sand. Or sand, yes. And so that's something that we do too. But here, if it gets under 10 degrees, don't go driving. I found myself though driving. I think Friday night, I saw something like that. I found myself driving 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the heck? No, 11 o'clock at night. It was 3 degrees. I'm like, what am I doing? So we turned back on. Because if anything happens, if a tire plops or something. Now here, if your tires are brand new, usually when it gets cold, it doesn't really affect you that much. But sometimes if your cars are just a little bit old and they don't have as much traction, once it gets cold, your tire pressure goes down very quickly. It'll go from 33 pounds down to 26. So I tell people here that if you do have if you have a chance, make sure that your tires are inflated. Make sure to check your tires at the beginning of the winter season, because you do not want bald tires on ice.
Well, even if you have good tires, last year I was so scared. I had good tires. I thought, I'm going to go down that big hill. I see a bunch of cars down there. I don't know if they got stranded, but I'm going to make it down that hill. Heck no. I started sliding towards the sidewalk to my right. And then I'm turning my wheel, trying to correct it. And then all of a sudden I'm sliding perpendicular to the road. And I hit the sidewalk on the other side of the street. And I'm afraid to even move because now my car is sliding sideways down the hill.
Did you just stop? What did you do?
I put on the brakes, all my brakes. and then I'm looking around. And I tried to call a client of mine who lived nearby. She wouldn't pick up, and come to find out she was sick. And so she wasn't going anywhere. But then I saw this man coming out of his house up the hill, and I rolled down my window and going, help. So that kind gentleman shoveled me out of that dilemma, and I slid sideways with his help and went to the next street where I can actually turn down that street. And I said, well, what's on the other side of this street? Is it another hill? What's over there? He goes, I think people are getting through that way. You'll be okay. And I made it out, and I said, am I stupid or what? I'm not doing this again. I'm not driving in snow or ice. there's a sheet of ice and you can't see black ice, so
no,
even if you have
and,
tires, brand new tires.
No, yeah. And even if you're not doing anything, somebody else is sliding into you. So it's not me, but if you're sitting there, somebody's coming down a hill and you're in the wrong spot, boom. So I mean, it's just safe. If you get 1 or 2 inches of snow, just stop. And let's talk about snow really quick because I know you're going to get into this, but I have a little dog. I have a dog, and he has to go out to the bathroom. And a couple of times there, he got 6 feet out of the door and just froze. He could not move because it was like 1 degree below zero, what have you. So, so we're doing different things to get him to go to the bathroom. But didn't you have some tips with your pets?
I do, and one of them is while we were talking about all this snow melting stuff. Your dog or your pet is outside. You're bringing them inside. Make sure you wipe off their paws because you don't want salt in between their paw. In the creases of their paws, and de-icing. Chemicals, you want to wipe all that stuff off their feet because they're going to suffer something serious if you don't pay attention to that. And again, Tina said, don't let them out for very long. Watch them do their business, bring them back in, and so protect their paws. Use a damp cloth to remove any of that stuff. We like to have our pets groomed, and sometimes you think, okay, it's winter, maybe they need a thicker coat, so let's make sure we don't groom them too close to their skin because they need that protection. The long coat will help them. Indoors, bring them indoors during the winter storm. They don't need to be outside. It's really dangerous for animals, and they should be warm and safe indoors. Have warm bedding for them, and so extra blankets, just like people, right? Extra blankets or a cozy bed, and to keep them safe inside and warm. And my dog likes to curl up in front of our fireplace. Even though she's got a really thick coat and I'm like burning and on the couch, a few feet away from her. She is right next to that fireplace. She doesn't care. But the thing too with if you have your dog or your pet close to, I know cats love the warmth of a fireplace. Make sure they're not so close they're going to singe their fur. So be careful of that. They tend to get distracted or disoriented during these cold spells, so they may wander off. So make sure your dog has a microchip, because we do. And a dog tag or any kind of ID. For your pet, make sure they have that. Emergency kit, same thing as people. Food essentials, if they need any medication, extra blankets. And then if you are in a car traveling with your pet, make sure they're in some kind of a seatbelt restraint or in a carrier too. That would be good if you have to travel in this kind of weather. And what else do I have? Minimize their outdoor activities. And it says increase your pet's food intake, especially for outdoor animals, because they need to burn up more calories just to stay warm. Right. And I think that's it as far as emergency preparedness for your pet. Oh, make sure if you're traveling too that you have your vet's phone number, all the contact information for your vet in case something happens and you need help for your pet.
That's good.
Already. Yep. I think that's it. That's what I have for pets because we know we want to take care of them as well.
Yeah, I don't see this so much in Colorado, but I know in Washington State, a lot of people keep their dogs outside. When I was a teenager, my parents kept my dogs outside, no matter if it was 50 degrees or if it was 20 degrees. And, they really are not built. Yeah, and, I had a German neighbor, and she'd come over, she's like screaming at my parents, and they're like, oh, okay, we didn't realize, because their dog doesn't mean they can go out there. I mean, unless they're a husky or something like that, even then, just because they're a dog does not mean that they can take these severe winter storms. If you have them outside all day, think about getting a crate so they can stay in the crate like in your hallway or something like that. Leave them outside in this type of weather is just cruel. It's just negligent. they do not have the facilities to take care of themselves in 1-degree weather. They just
we have a dog glue for our dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The minute she steps outside, she'll do her business or just look around and go, it's kind of cold. No, I'm good. I'm staying.
Yeah, same our dog. He's like, I don't think so. Not right now.
Yeah. Plant their feet like, no. Not going anywhere.
You go. I'll go after you. Yeah. But thank you so much. And that's the end of our time today. But do take care of yourself. Do stay warm. And thank you for joining us in this episode.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next week, 2:30 Tuesdays.